Not your typical video today. I got something better. Hey everybody, it's me, Margaret. I'm a Mississippi native transplanted to Atlanta, Georgia, where I sheepishly share things I love with you, and today is all about you, as a matter of fact. We're in the middle of hosting this giveaway for the first ever crochet crate with Kristen Almondale's yarn in there and her patterns. And I asked that you leave a comment in the comment section if you wanted to be included. But you can't just leave any comment. You need to tell me something that I could share. And I got some wonderful tips, some wonderful questions, and even some wonderful trivia, just interesting information. And I started putting it all into categories. And what I have for you today, I guess I'm about 3/4 of the way through in the current comments right now. And what I have for you today are a collection of the tips, the technical tips that we have so far that have to do with knitting or crochet, shared by you. So I suggest you go get your beverage of choice and something to take notes on, whether it's your phone, a computer, or good old pencil and paper, because some of this stuff you're going to want to remember. Now before I start with the tips, I want to share this very unique contribution. Katrina, also known as Katrinas Creations on Ravelry, has designed a 3-color beaded shawlette for knitters, and it's called the Banner Unfurled. Now she's offering a special gift to us of 20% off until April 15th, but you have to use our sheepishly sharing code, which is SS20. And apparently Katrina has a YouTube channel too, so we all need to go meet her on YouTube. Thanks, Katrina. And the first tip we've got comes from Dixie Girl 9876, and it's about pom-poms. And you know how sometimes we're torn about whether we should put a pom-pom on a hat or not? Well, listen to this. She says, if adding a pom-pom to a hat, instead of sewing it on, leave a long tail and just tie it on, like your shoelaces. That way you could remove it easily to go in the laundry, although I have to tell you, I do wash my hats with the pom-poms, and I actually like the way they get even fluffier. But if you're worried about it, for example, you take it right on off, and then you can tie it on. Or it's great if you want to change your mind about the pom-pom. Or if you have like 2 children and one child loves the pom and one child doesn't, and they want to wear the same hat because it's the colors they want. And if you're not familiar with children or don't have any in your life in any form or fashion, then that probably sounds weird to you, but trust me, that's a thing. So that just solves all the pom-pom problems there, doesn't it? But then she gives us another tip, and she says if you have many projects going on at the same time, some requiring the same hooks, you know how so many people can't just finish a project. They like to have multiple projects going on. It kind of breaks the boredom, and I can understand that. If one of these projects is a crochet project, you need to write down the hook that you're using. She says pin it to the project. I'm a little bit lazier than Dixie Girl 9876, so I'd probably, if I remember to do it, I would just write it down on a piece of paper and stuff it in my project bag. But the point is, write it down. Now, this next tip comes from Julie, and it's about the good old bobby pin, and I wore some bobby pins in my hair today so that we could demonstrate how versatile they are. Now she suggests that when you've caked your yarn up like this, well, let me backtrack. First of all, what I do is I will stick a crochet hook in these outer these outer strands right here, and then I'll just pull this through. But what she suggests is to take a bobby pin and just clip it on the outside like this. Now, what I do works. I've been doing it for years, but here's the problem. You go to put it in your bag, and inevitably it's going to pull loose or whatever as it's being tossed around in the project bag. So this is a simple solution. Why didn't I think of that? Now, Sean P. tells us that the ever versatile bobby pin is also a great stitch marker, and I have seen people use this before. But she mentioned specifically a short bobby pin for a stitch marker. And I've seen those. Have you seen, like, this is your regular one. What is that? That's probably about an inch, 2 inches, inch and a half. I don't know. This is generally an inch, this little bend in my finger. And I have seen the shorter ones, and that would be a little bit more practical for this use. So keep that in mind. And then Junior M says, run out of stitch markers, grab some colorful or not so colorful paper clips. Small binder clips work well for knitting too. I didn't think about that. You know, the binder clips, the black ones, which I know I have some around here but not handy, but that can kind of clip two pieces together as you're trying to sew the pieces, which is usually something that I mess up on. When I have to seam two pieces together, they will move, and using a binder clip would be a great way to keep those pieces affixed to one another. So thank you, Junior M. Now y'all are gonna laugh at this one just because I'm saying it, but remember, these are not my words. This comes from Candy Bouncer, and she says, okay, here's my tip. Christmas is the same date every year, so it really shouldn't catch us off guard. Start your Christmas gift knitting now, or at least start planning it out now. And that is so true. It does. It comes the same time every year, and we should know. And I wrote back to her and I said, yes, that's a great fact that we need to remember. I think the problem is that we get caught up in the here and now. You know, we're enjoying the moment. So it's springtime right now, so we tend to be outdoors more often and not devoting as much thought to the coming Christmas months. Those of you with a naturally organized brain, like Candy Bouncer, it comes so easy and so naturally to you that those of us who are so flighty and all around, you think we've lost our minds. But I would give anything to have a naturally organized mind. I really would. And I try often, but it's just not in my nature. You know, I don't do a lot of holiday knitting and crochet, but if you do, look into the future. Take Candy Bouncer's tip and plan now some of the things that you may want to begin working on. Thanks, Candy. Then, MS Not of This World, I guess that's how you say that, said, I made a bunny hat for my little baby for Easter, and attaching the ears was getting difficult. And if you've ever had to sew on pieces, whether it's amigurumi or character hats or something like that, I feel her pain. She said, attaching the ears was getting difficult until I used the little clawed hair clips to clip the ears where I want them and continue whip stitching them in place while clipped. Each hair clip, cheap hair clips from the Dollar Tree. There you go. Now this was particularly ingenious to me. I loved these ideas. Now she's talking about clawed hair clips, and they come in all different shapes and sizes. You can get them at the Dollar Tree, well, like I said, in all different shapes and sizes. Here's a tiny one. Can you see that? It's just tiny, tiny. They come in different colors, and you can get them $1 and you get like, I don't know, 10 or more of them. This one came from some old roller clips that I had. But any of these would actually do the trick depending upon the project. Big things, of course, heavy yarns or whatever, you would use the bigger ones. But I thought that was so clever. And have you noticed that people are starting to read the comments themselves, and there is a little thumbs up and thumbs down on the different comments. And at the time that I screen captured this, she had 5 comments, not comments, 5 likes on her comment. So even if I didn't present this to you in the video, people are reading this and learning from it. So I'm so excited to have you smart people give me information. This is wonderful. Now this next one comes from Terry Tidwell, and I think I understand what he's talking about, but I certainly understand the concept. It's the details that I was a little confused on. But he says we can crochet and recycle at the same time. You take a coffee can. Now I don't buy coffee cans anymore. I use a Keurig, but if I buy coffee, I usually buy it in a package, like, you know, the bag that's vacuum sealed. But it doesn't have to be a coffee can. Just picture that size. Take your coffee can, put a bag in it, and cut a small hole in the top, and cut a piece of large straw about 1 inch and put it in the hole. So I think he meant the top of the coffee can, not the bag. Put your yarn in the can and then put the end of your yarn through the hole in the top and crochet and knit your heart out. So what he's doing is creating a little contained, clean environment. Or I'm saying he because it's T-E-R-R-Y, and that's usually how men spell their name, but women spell it that way too, so I could be completely wrong, so please correct me on that. But regardless, this is a very clever thing. Don't you know that they actually sell these little things that look like a little snow globe, and you can put a cake of yarn in there or a ball of yarn in there, and it's the same principle? Well, here you go, you got one for free. Genius. And then we have Lorelei Frank, and I think Lorelei is probably a new viewer to my channel because her tip was to buy one ball of I Love This Cotton from Hobby Lobby using the 40% off coupon. And it ends up being, you know, like $2 plus sales tax. And that, you know, I never buy any of my acrylics in big box yarn stores without it being on sale with a coupon. That's my goal, is to have like 20% off your total order and then hit a sale. That's really fun. But Hobby Lobby, as she was saying, they don't do that. You can only use your coupon when it's not on sale. So if you're in love with Hobby Lobby, I Love This Yarn, then the only way you're actually going to save money with them is to use that 40% off coupon. They do have sales, of course, but they're kind of puny sales, you know. But anyway, Lorelei is a girl after my own heart. Now remember, the pattern in the knit crate is a bag. Okay, so you would crochet the bag and felt it. Actually, you don't have to felt it, but you know, that's what it's designed to do. And Jackie McGlasson says, nothing better than crocheting a bag so you can have another yarn stash. I love taking my little projects with me, especially in something I can show off. So when I looked at those bright colors, and I immediately thought, beach! And yet, what a great project bag that would make as well. So good job, Jackie. Okay, and this is from Margaret's Crafts, who I'll say has been around sheepishly sharing and me for a really long time. But Margaret gives us a heads up, and this is really important. She says, note that all letter hook sizes don't necessarily match. You know how in the US we have like, you know, an A, B, C, D, E, F, G hook, and then there's the millimeter number beside it. You need to check the millimeters. It's actually, we really need to get out of the habit of looking at those letters. We need to be more like the British and just call this a, what, 6 millimeter hook. This is a 6 millimeter hook, not a J, because they are different. And she points out that she has 2 eye hooks with different millimeter numbers on them. So at least they do have millimeter numbers on them, but that would be very, very important. Which brings me back to our first tip from Dixie Girl, who says if you take out a hook to use it and you're not finished with the project, make a note, make sure you write the millimeter size, because what if you take out an eye hook and you just write down eye and you pick up the one that has the wrong millimeter number on it? Then you're going to be up a creek. So that's a good heads up. Now this next one, I have to tell you, I want this community. I've always said I have the best viewers. They are kind, they are giving and generous, and in sharing their knowledge and helping each other, and it's wonderful. But every now and then I get people who are just trying to promote their own channel or their own blog or something like that, and so you have to be kind of careful about that. But this one is different. This is with Alex, and she does have her own channel, and she has lots of different crafts on it, not just crocheting and stuff like that. But in a recent video, she did dyeing speckled yarn with Easter egg dye. How festive is that? Because we got Easter right around the corner. So it's a video tutorial. I'll put the link in the description box below, and it's I'll probably put a picture up here while I'm talking. Very pretty pastel-y colors. I thought y'all might like to see that. So thanks, Alex. Now, Lisa Gerald got me tickled. She said, silliest tip ever. I used to amuse my daughter and her little friends by showing them how to felt. using fur from our Persian cat's brush. It worked beautifully, and it was the cheapest craft project. Yeah, you had no shortness of that. That is true. Now, you may know that spinners will use pet hair to create your own I don't know, like a keepsake, a customized keepsake from your pet's hair. And I know Juanita, she has a video, a channel called With These Hands. And she has done that before. And it's really, really interesting. I'm kind of sad now that I never sent her any of that Smitty hair, because he felt like a bunny. Smitty felt like a bunny. There was just no doubt. But Lisa, I didn't think that was the silliest tip ever. I thought that was great. Now this one's from Ashley, Ash Love Nerd on YouTube. And she had a tip for felting, which happens to be what the Crochet Crate project is. It says there are different techniques for felting wool, and yes, there are. I agree. She says you can do it in the washing machine and dryer, or number 2, by hand with warm water and rubbing the fabric so that it felts. It's like the friction. I think there's more methods to do felting, but these are the more common. And yes, she's right. And now I'm going to point you in the description box below. Of course, I'm going to put a link to a video that Erin, Give Me Yarn 418, did a while back, because I think you'd really enjoy it. She has this tabletop washer that she does her felting in. It's called the Wonder Washer, and she takes you along through that process. So look for that link, and I think you'll enjoy that. Now, Kathleen Boldorf, I think I'm pronouncing that properly, great tip for this. Now, she's talking about when we're making our own bags, which again is the project here. But if you were making a flat bottom bag and you want it to stay firm, and you know what I'm talking about, when you want it to hold its shape, it won't necessarily stand up by itself, but it gives a firm bottom for holding the sides apart and things like that. And so what she shared was, start by making 2 bottoms that are identical. So you would crochet or knit 2 identical pieces. And then you take a piece of plastic canvas and you cut it just a little bit smaller, sandwich it between those 2 pieces, and then, you know, sew it together. Now obviously this is going to make a nice padded, firm bottom for your bag, which would be ideal. And then I threw in another thing that came from Margaret's Crafts, and that's to go to the Dollar Tree and buy those vinyl plastic table mats. And they're, of course, $1, and you just cut it to fit, and that would be another cheap way to do that. So thanks, Kathleen. Now, Donna Zach gives us a tip that it's one of those things that I would be hitting my forehead like, you know, duh, why didn't I think of that? She's been crocheting for over 30 years, and so she has some experience. One tip I use is when I have a pattern for, let's say, a 15-inch doll, and I want to make it to fit a 12-inch doll. You can go down a size or 2 of the crochet hook and the size of the yarn to crochet cotton. It works very well with only a few changes. Now, why is this such a good tip? Because you don't have to do math and everything stays proportionate. I mean, you could go through the whole process and saying, okay, well, I think I'll just do only so many rows on, so many stitches on this row, so many rows this long. But your proportions could come out all wonky if you don't do your math exactly right. So this is probably the easiest way to shrink or enlarge a project. The Kevin SOG makes this sound so easy, and I am so guilty of not doing this correctly. He, and I'm assuming it's Kevin. In circular knitting, when adding a new color or stripe, prevent a jog by joining at the point. No, prevent a jog at the joining point by lifting the right side of the stitch below onto the left needle and knit it together with the stitch. So you're knitting 2 together. All right, say that again. Lifting the right side of the stitch below onto the left needle and knit it together with the stitch. It sounds so simple, but I never can remember how to do jogless stripes when I'm doing stripes. So guess what I do? Nothing. So guess what I get? A jog. So that's just dumb. When I read it like this, it's like, oh, that's so clear. Okay, this one comes from Judy Thompson, and she says, so excited to hear about Crochet Crate, which so many people also said. I bought the knitting journal you recommended, and if you didn't see that, I'll put the link in the description box below. That was one of those instances where I really didn't think I was going to like the product that the company sent, and I really, really did, and had to eat my words. But anyway, so she says, my tip is to use this, the knitting journal, to use it to inventory needles to prevent repeats, and a great place to keep up with notes, thoughts, and inspiration, and it really is. And she says she's old school, meaning that she wants to do it with pencil and paper. Remember that Ravelry does provide a way for you to do all this digitally, and that is fantastic. And remember, if you're new to my channel, I am primarily a techno person. I have been into computers for years and years, and that's why my family thinks I'm so weird for liking all this knit and crochet stuff, because it's so not me. But anyway, my first thought was, if I was going to keep up with all this information in my projects, which I don't, Ravelry. So it's at this point where I start rattling on about everything I learned about that knitting journal when I reviewed it the last time. Sorry about that for those of you who had already seen it, and for those who are interested, I'll put the link in the description box. Alright, here's one I have never heard before. Lilia Ventu says, hello Margaret, I have a little tip that I use. I like to knit with wet yarn sometimes. It gives me more control and the stitches look tighter together. I could see where this would, well, first of all, it would be a different experience. And when she says wet, I don't think she's talking dripping wet. I'm sure she squeezes most of the yarn out. Let's say damp. But I'm sure it would not only feel a little different, create a tighter fabric, which could be good for somebody like me who is a loose knitter. But maybe when it dries, it may even, I don't know. Lilia's going to have to tell us about this. But it was so intriguing that several people had commented under her post asking questions, and because that's a simple thing that could actually create, it could be a whole new technique. Interesting. Cindy Lee Crochet. She says, hey Margaret, hi Margaret, the tip I would like to share is how great the following storage bags are for crochet and knit projects. And I know this because I have some of these that I've stored some stuff upstairs in. She says they are the Store It Extra Large Plastic Storage Bag with Handles 2-count boxes. That's the formal name. They also come in large 3-count boxes and extra large 1-count boxes. They're made of thick, clear plastic that zips closed and have a cutout handle. My yarn projects stay clean and fresh, zipped up in these bags, and they also hang up nicely on wall hooks, etc. Good for organization. I get them at my local Dollar Tree, and you can also order a case of them on their website. Yes, you can. Now, I mentioned that I have used these before. It's when I thought I was going to crochet an Afghan, but I never did that, so the pieces and parts are just in this bag with all the yarn. But anyway, this is what she's talking about. And they come, it tells you in the back, they come in those different sizes. So let's see, this is the large size. So let's see what size we're talking about. So if you want to order them from the website, you'll have an idea. Okay. See, it's about that big. And I'm sure they have the measurements on here somewhere, but for me, measurements don't cut it. I need to see it in person. All right, so now you can see the idea. But she's right. The plastic is very thick. And look, see, it's hard for me to even get the zipper undone. They seal up very nicely. So I use these mostly, not for my projects, as much as storing winter clothes, anything I'm storing in the garage. You know, we have a lot of humidity in the South, and I like to have anything that's a soft good stored. If it's going outside, you know, it needs to be stored in sealed plastic so moisture can't get to it. But Cindy Lee Crochet, excellent tip, thank you. Now this one's just genius here. Nancy Rosner says, I've enjoyed this video and the comments. I'm so glad she's reading the comments because you people are just brilliant. A little tip for crocheters, and this works for knitters. If you have a project that's too big for a project bag, you can use a mesh laundry basket, you know, like you carry your dirty clothes to the laundry room in. And the bonus is your balls and skeins of yarn do not bounce away or get on the floor. So think how perfect that is. You've got everything contained, and you can literally, if you wanted to, pull the yarn through the holes, up, you know, through the mesh, if you wanted to keep them separated or something like that. But yeah, I mean, that was almost like a, why didn't I think of that moment? Good idea, Nancy. More project storage solution. This is from Chi Sweets, who has been with, gosh, how long have we known each other? When I say known, you know, through the internet, Chi, we have been together forever. She says, I don't care for fancy project bags, but I have a thing for insulated zipper lunch bags. You know what I'm talking about. She says, there are some of canvas fabric. I don't use them for food. I just collect them. I have no idea why I do this. And we all have things we wonder, why do we feel the need to do this? So it dawned on me, these are perfect project bags. I usually pick these up on clearance after school starts. The ones with 2 compartments are my faves. Also, I've used these as gift bags and filled them with goodies. That is a very clever idea. And you know, you really can get them on really good prices. It's right after school has begun and they start getting rid of their back to school supply. So yeah, look for that. I do the same thing with canvas book bags. And you know, they give those things away for free. We were shopping the other day. Thomas needed some new clothes, and this when Maggie was here over the weekend. And they were just giving us canvas bags with store logos on them and stuff. And I was like, she says, these are great for larger projects. And then she asked me a question. And I have most of the questions you've asked me put aside for another video, but since this is right here, I'll answer it. She said, have you made a small blanket or throw with your Addi machines? And the answer is no. I don't like big projects. I just don't enjoy them very much. And with the Addi machines, well, most of the time you would do that with a flat panel, though I have seen people do it with tube panels, you know, where you flatten it down, that's double thickness. But then there's still that endless sewing together, and I could just see myself not being, just being frustrated with the whole sewing process. Although now I have my tips, and I could probably do a better job if I used some clips like this to sew it together. But anyway, the answer to that question is no. I've never made an Afghan of any kind. All right, remember a minute ago when I was talking about these born organized people whose brains just work that way? Well, Sherry Garrison, I think, is one of those people, but let me tell you. She says, hello, Margaret, I'm both a crochet and knit fanatic. Oh, we understand. And I have yarn all over the house, and I've been told I'm the scarf lady from Sarah and Duck Show. Now, I'm thinking to myself, what the heck is the Sarah and Duck Show? Remember, my youngest child is about to turn 16, so I looked it up. So apparently Sarah is friends with this little lady who knits all the time, and her life revolves around yarn. And even her cushions of her couch are covered in yarn. Look at the end table back there. It's a big yarn ball. And she decorates with it. Can you see the scarf tree in the back? Looks like a potted plant. That's really a scarf, I think. That's what it looks like. And each of the picture frames are made of knitted objects, knitted frames. I don't know what she does. And then look how she stores it. She's got it hanging in yarn hammocks all over the house. I think that's great. She has loads and loads of yarn, yep. I also do baskets, wreaths, baby shower specialty diaper cakes, and macrame special items. That's a lot. How do I keep my brain organized? I use a big desk calendar with notes of start and expected completion date. I use my big calendars. I've done a tutorial for how I made these big giant calendars that I have hanging on the wall. If you are interested in trying Sherry's method, that would work as well. She says, without that, my brain would run away and leave me a note that says, I quit. And I told her, I think that's my whole problem. My brain ran away and forgot to leave me a note. I have plenty more great comments, tips, and suggestions, but we're just going to have to put those in another video. I hope you enjoyed these, and stay tuned. And remember, if you haven't entered the giveaway, you need to leave a comment in the giveaway video. I'll put a link in the description box below. It needs to be on that video, not on this video, not on the blog, not anywhere else, in that video. Leave me something, share something that I can share with everybody else. It might be a tip, might be a question, might be an anecdote or something like that. So talk soon. Bye.